more than 40 years, Common Square Health Center has been here for the people of Dorchester and the surrounding neighborhoods. We care for our community by ensuring that each person who comes through the door receives care that meets their specific needs. Codman offers primary and specialty care, including dental, eye care, and behavioral health services. One of Codman's specialty services includes sexual health. Our X-Clinic is here to help you take care of all your sexual health needs. We offer on-site testing and treatment for sexually transmitted diseases, which include telehealth services, home HIV testing, PEP, PrEP, and more. You don't have to be a Codman patient to come to the X-Clinic. Anyone can come in and receive whatever care works for them. Whether you're looking for a comprehensive exam and consultation or just a quick test, we are here for you.
Welcome to We Are Here Live, an initiative of the X-Clinic by Common Square Health Center. We Are Here Live is a monthly safe digital space for Black and Brown LGBTQ folks. I'm your host, Sublime Love.
Growing up, when I was younger, I didn't see enough dark-skinned trans women, so I was very scared to be who I am now. This movement is important to me because as I grow into myself, I want to be there for the other youth that are like me, inspire people to be themselves.
Given our, struggles as a community and our identities, we're not really taught to really take care of ourselves. I think that it's important for us to sort of seek that out as we start to understand more about ourselves and start to develop a sense of agency in terms of how we want to be treated for us and for our bodies.
Pride is vital and important because pride, I feel like, is resistance, especially as Black and brown queer people, trans people. When we are who we are laughing in the faces of opposition, in the faces of oppression. After the last year we've all had, today's episode of We Are Here Live is a celebration of our lives, our power, and our pride. Let's get this show started by meeting our community members, sponsors, and partners. And join the conversation by using the hashtag WeAreHereLive.
My name is Joel. I'm 30 years old, Dominican, born and raised in the Bronx. And for the past 10 years, I've lived with HIV, thriving, surviving, and living positively proud. First time that I actually knew I was different, or at least in retrospect, queer, it was the Batman movie, and I was so enthralled with the Riddler because he was so homoerotic in his mannerisms, and it reminded me so much of who I was and how I acted and how much of me I saw in him and how much my mom wanted to sort of stamp that out of me. Growing up, given our struggles as a community and our identities, we're not really taught to really take care of ourselves, And so I think that it's important for us to sort of seek that out as we start to understand more about ourselves and start to develop a sense of agency in terms of how we want to be treated and what is good for us and for our bodies. I think that it's super important for us and ultimately part of our journey as queer folk, as people of color, living in these oppressive systems.
This is a special podcast for We Are Here. I'm Lady German, and I said that once, and I'll say it twice. With me is Amanda and Amir. Present yourselves, say your pronouns, and who you are.
My name is Amanda Shea. I am an artist, educator, curator, radio show host, and mentor. And my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Yes, so my name is Amir Dixon. I am the creative director of A&I. We're a visual design firm for social impact. You can learn more about me. My pronouns are he and his.
And my pronouns are they, them, their, her, she, anything. You gotta take care of your what? So, yeah. And listen, talking about taking care of yourself, I wanna, this is gonna be a welcoming table. Let's set the mood, because this is gonna be a space where we can talk about things, we can be there for each other. Bitch, this is gonna be the place where we come as a family and talk about the issues. And one of the biggest issues that we face in our community is mental health. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Mental health is something, and I'll talk from my perspective, where my mental health comes from, right? So me as a drag performer and a drag artist, mental health has been a big part of my life, especially being, a Latino queer person. Growing up in a house where, you saw your mother doing drugs, getting beat up, I kind of picked up on certain habits and PTSD and things like that where it kind of like messed with me. In other words, fucked with me. It fucked with me. And as I started raising myself, I started realizing that I wasn't okay, And, I want to talk a little bit about mental health because I think that sometimes we feel it's taboo to talk about it because people try to make you seem like you might be a crazy person if you're dealing with mental health issues. Yeah.
I think that's a really bad stigma. When people hear mental health, they automatically assume, oh my gosh, you are diagnosed with something. And unfortunately, that's not everybody's case. You could be walking around having issues with mental health and it's not relatable to what we call schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, things of that nature. It could be depression, anxiety, PTSD, which goes undiagnosed all the time. People don't even realize like how detrimental PTSD is. You can have PTSD from anything. Social media, watching George Floyd's death for me gave me PTSD. Being pulled over by a police officer, PTSD. Being in a car accident, you can have PTSD. Some people create like this fear of driving, especially after a really horrific car accident. So I think we should be gentle when we talk about mental health because it's our overall health.
Yeah.
If our mental is not in shape, then our bodies aren't gonna follow suit. And it's just important to talk about and not be so taboo about it or stigmatize people who are very upfront about their
even people who are very vocal about, political things or like their rights and like when they get challenged, like for example, like let's say if you are someone who is very expressive and are about like all your rights and about POC justice and everything, I've noticed that there's like a thing where people would categorize you as like, oh, that girl is crazy, like she probably is having some mental health issues.
And judging. When we were talking earlier about this topic specifically, I was just thinking to myself about like my own story as it surrounds mental health. So for 3 years, I was dealing with like chronic depression where like I couldn't get out the bed. I didn't feel anything. Like people would come to me, talk to me, have issues, and I just couldn't feel it. And for me, it was like, I'm feeling sad today. And people were just like, girl, get up. Girl, get to work. Girl, ain't nobody got time to hear about whatever issue you got going on.
Yeah.
Right? And
that's dismissive.
And just to be in a space to deal with that by myself, where never feeling like I had people to go to, had people to engage with and talk to that about, because when you are the artist, when you are the business owner, when you are the performer, right? No one cares. It's
the show must go on.
Exactly. You're strong. You got to get out there. You got to do it. And for me, it's like I want to apologize to myself for that because I never allowed myself to have space for that. And it's like I know that many of us are dealing with the same thing, right? Where it's like, okay, the rent is due on the 1st, the bills are due, the bills are coming. Your mom, your aunt, your cousin, your brother, your sister calls you, they need something and you gotta show up for them. And it's like, for me, and like many people in our community, substances became the thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and through therapy, I've been able to just like give language to it, give words to it.
Now, why is that? And I noticed that this is something that happens a lot in our community. Why is it that us, as the performers, and most of the performers in our community are POC, why is it that we are hard on ourselves when we're like dealing with our own mental health problems, when we're dealing with anxiety and depression? We're like so hard on ourselves that we're like, you can't go out in public because you don't want to, you know, have a breakdown, or like you can't show emotion. And then it's like you can see everybody else cry and everybody else vent in public, but then you feel like you have to like put everything in a box, hold it in, and you're expected not to cry, and you're expected not to feel, and you're expected to be happy, because that's what you showcase, right?
But isn't that like ingrained in our culture? Like that stems from our environment, and like that starts from our family. You know, I think for me, our Black household was like under the rug for everything. We didn't talk about mental health. We didn't talk about a lot of things that went on. And that's just our culture, is like we just push everything under the rug. We have to be resilient no matter what. It's already hard enough being Black. We don't have time to have mental health issues because we have to keep persevering.
Hi, I'm Naya Williams. I'm a freelance organizer. I like to work a lot with the activist community, specifically for the LGBTQ community and people of color. I came up to my dad. It did not go well. I was on my way back to Boston. We was arguing on the phone, and he said he doesn't want me to be his kid no more. It does bother me a lot, but it made me the person I am today. It made me much stronger and realize that I don't need nobody. But people I do have, I keep them around, and I love them. It is important for the people of color in the LGBTQ community to access healthcare, mental health, and community support, because I strongly believe in mutual aid, and mutual aid is something that a lot of people need, because I feel like since the coronavirus happened, a lot of people understand that, hey, this person's not just begging for money because they just need money. People actually need to survive. A lot of people like make judgment or pass judgment when people ask for money, but I feel like you shouldn't do it. What if that's you? Would you rather struggle or ask people for help?
And we're back. Oh, girl, that was a good break, honey. Shit, all the good talking and shit that we just did. Yes, ma'am. And that's why you take a break. All right. You know, it's funny. Like I always do when I do podcasts. It's like we take breaks and we're like, oh yeah, and then we get back to being serious. Like, work, bitch, let's do it. You know, we were talking before we left about mental health, and we were getting into it with access, which is a major key when it comes to getting the problem solved. The access of getting the resources, the access of getting shit done, basically. So let's talk about that. You know, recently, and I can only speak from my experience, I've been having like these pause where I blank out. I just blank out. I had like, disclaimer, if you deal with like self-harm, step away from a little bit. But I had 2 friends pass away from self-harm recently. And it kind of, you know, it kind of like broke me down a little bit. And it kind of like put me in this space where I needed to get the resources and help. Access. I got so many phone numbers, girl. Child, when I tell you I got phone numbers, I got like 25 phone numbers.
Wow.
And I couldn't get through to getting the help that I needed. So let's talk about how can we change this? Like, how can access be something more easy to access?
For me, you know, just to add to that, you know, when we produced the We Are Here campaign with the X Clinic at Codman Health Center, for me, it was about how can we utilize our voices, our stories, our experiences to empower each other to pick up access, right? When I first moved to Boston from South Florida, I lived in Mattapan with my aunt while I was going to school. And to get on the red line, to get on the trolley at Mattapan Square, to get on the red line, to get downtown, to go to like, you know, my provider, it was a lot, you know, and I think that we have to have local community-based resources that are like literally on Warren Street that are around the corner from us. And to me, I feel like we have to start to look at healthcare and access to healthcare not as a privilege, but as our birthright.
Do you think we should adopt? The United States is the only first world country that doesn't offer the same access as these other countries. So you think we should adopt like Canada's systematic process, Denmark's, England's, as far as giving free education, free medical care, and the only time, because the way that their system is set up is like the only time that you really pay is when you go and you're sick.
Right.
So you think that the United States should adopt that?
100%.
For every dead Black body, I attempt a resurrection through poetry. May my words affirm our existence. The fact that we not only matter, we are divine. We are being hunted because they know this. They fear the fact that history always repeats itself. So let me tell you about our wealth, how we had empires. The richest human being in the history of time was an African man, Mansa Musa. The Pope praised to a Black Madonna and child. They are but a diluted version of Aset and Haru. Feel this truth. God made man in his image. The most ancient human skeleton, Lucy, was found in Ethiopia. Let us rise from slumber. In this capitalistic society we are under, they have broken us off from waking. Love and hip-hop dreams we see, trying to gain celebrity, when it is us that rival stars. We charted this guy eons ago. They took our knowledge, called it their own, enslaved us and fed us lies. We are not the minority. The world majority are melanated peoples. Got us running to churches and mosques, praying to white gods. I said God made man in his image. They fear history repeating itself. We're the wealth that created wealth. Now take my word for jewel, and you're open. Light for every dead Black body. I attempt a resurrection.
What's up, everybody? My name is Medino Green, and I'm a hip-hop artist from Queens, New York.
How did you find music?
I found music, I want to say, around the ages of 13 or 14, just hanging out with the kids from around the way. That was just our way of passing time during summer school. That was just something that we did to kind of keep us occupied.
What were your inspirations?
My inspirations back then was definitely trying to fit in because they weren't artists like myself. As I got older and started going through life and learning who I was, that's where my inspiration came from. Being openly Black gay male in a predominantly heterosexual industry, you know, going through the trials and tribulations, that's definitely something that you do experience, and it is definitely inspiring.
Being an out Black gay rapper is powerful. Why was it important? Why was being out important for you?
Being out was definitely important for me just because I know there are other artists like myself. There's other, you know, little Medinos that are growing up in the world today, and they need someone to look up to. They need someone to help navigate, you know, for them to live in their truth. So I think, you know, me being who I am and having the platform that I do, it is a very powerful thing because I have, you know, a very powerful voice, and I can inspire people to, you know, just be themselves.
You have a new project coming out. Tell us about it.
So I do have a new project coming out. It's called MG16. It was inspired by Rap City Big Tig in the Basement back when he would have artists come and perform in the basement with him, or just like in the little bathroom section. So I was able to, bring my version of that to life in my way. So you guys will get a few video clips of those. I think it's about 6 or 7 that I did. I'll be slowly releasing those within the next couple of weeks or so.
Where and how can we follow you?
You guys can definitely follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Medino Green. I'm not really big on Snapchat. If you guys want to get into, I want to say like the B side of things for me as far as like mixtape content, you can definitely follow me on SoundCloud at medinogreen.com, SoundCloud.com/MedinoGreen, and it'll definitely pull up. You can check out my website, medinogreen.com. You'll be able to find mixtapes and content there. You can also add me as a friend on Facebook. So yeah, that's where you guys can find me.
Why should our community be empowered to access X Clinic services and take control of their health?
What X Clinic services are doing for our people, our queer Black people right now is definitely needed. With all the trauma that we go through, mental health is definitely a thing that we need to focus more on and pay more attention to the signs. Look out for one another and just help, because we experience trauma every day, waking up, going outside. Our trans sisters are, slowly falling off the face of this earth, just from senseless acts. Or, we have people that are going through stuff internally, and, the signs are there, but we're not paying attention to them. So I think what X Clinic is doing is allowing them to have an outlet for them to, be able to talk to someone or get the help that they need, so that way we can, just show that there is unity in this community.
What would freedom look like for LGBTQ plus people of color?
Freedom for LGBTQ queer people of color should just look the same way everything else does in society. Not having to have a fear in the back of your mind that somebody's gonna, hit you upside the head for being different, for wearing your hair a certain way, for walking with a switch, or, choosing to wear whatever it is that you want to wear. I think freedom, should just be freedom should just be a thing for people to feel when they walk out of their house, and is just able to breathe without a fear in the back of their mind that something tragic could happen to them today or tomorrow. Freedom looks many different ways. I would say I look like an example of freedom, because quite frankly, I don't care. But, I just think freedom has a look, and I think, I don't know, freedom should just look a certain type of way for our people, and it really doesn't at this time. But
what is something you would tell your younger self?
Something I would tell my younger self would probably be that it's okay to feel how you feel. It's okay to not feel pressured. You don't have to do everything that you're being forced to do, because that's not something that you want to do. It's okay to want the finer things in life. It's just okay. Like, you're gonna be okay. And one day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be in a position of happiness where, people actually adore you and the talent that you have. you know, everything that's going on in your mind right now, like, you're gonna be okay. Trust me. We've come a long way, but you will be okay.
That's it.
We are back here where we are here. Hashtag we are here.
Yes.
Common Square. Hey, so listen, we've talked about good things like mental health access. You know what's something that we have to talk about? It's cliche. But everybody say love.
Love.
Everybody say love.
Love.
And take that down what? Common Square. Okay. So love, you know, love is also hard to access sometimes. Oh.
It just got real quiet in this bitch.
You know, love comes in many different ways. It can be either loving yourself,
Yes.
loving each other, the love of family, the love of accepting someone or a community. So love is just like, it's so complicated too. You know, for someone who grew up in a house where I really wasn't told I love you was a big deal to me. Like, I remember the first time someone told me I love me, and I was shooketh. I was like, oh shit, this is it. Oh my God, this man just told me he loves me. And I grabbed onto it, and I didn't want to let go because it was the first time in my life somebody told me I love you. You know, and the same way he told me I love you, he also broke my heart. And he broke me. So, you know, that's with love, it's like, bitch, it's so complicated. But I feel like sometimes, cliche, when you don't love yourself enough, how can you expect yourself to love someone else too?
That's a really good point. So I'm gonna bring this like to 3 different parts and try to make it quick because y'all know this ain't my conversation. Because I'm still working on what love means to me. So for me, it's hard to talk about love because I'm now learning what self-love looks like. I didn't love myself for a really long time, and I feel like there was so many different variables that I can pinpoint why I didn't love myself. And I think one is survivorship.
Yes.
Is another reason why you don't necessarily always potentially love yourself, because you're so stuck in self-preservation mode and survivor mode that sometimes you can dismiss love or just not receive it in ways that people are giving it to you. But I think once again, this boils down to family, nature versus nurture. So
Oh, bitch, that deep voice, you heard that?
right, it was like nurture. Nature versus, not because I had to like clear my throat too.
Oh,
at
me
the
too.
same
Let's
time.
do it.
It was like, we clear our throats.
I think she's cleared.
So like nature versus nurture, it's like, I grew up in a very drug addicted household. So for me, I didn't even understand like the fact that there was even abuse. So I think what I got conditioned to is we model who we're in front of or who we're raised by as what love is supposed to look like. So when you see, for me, I had both of my parents in the house up until I was 11 years old. It's like, I saw a lot of toxic love. So therefore it became the norm for me. I thought toxicity was love and that you were supposed to fight for that love because giving up wasn't an option, even though you are drowning and draining in said toxicity. So how can you really build a really healthy love and then teach that to your kids? My mother used to hug us, but it wasn't like, we didn't show a lot of love to one another, which in turn trickled down to my kids. And it made me think, like, how much do I kiss my children? How much do I hug my children? Because that's not something that I necessarily was shown when I was a kid. So now I'm taking on these behaviors, adopting them. Not only that, but we talk about nurture, but what about the nature? In our environment, sometimes we see a lot of broken homes. At least for me, in the space that I grew up in, I saw a lot of like white middle class families being able to stick it out. But as far as like the black families that we had in our communities, it was always, you know, broken. And so for me, that became like the norm. I just thought that, you know, this is regular for me.
And I think that that's just it though too. Like sometimes when we see what people present to us of like affection or just support too, like even as like a person of color, like it's so hard to know when society has a different perspective of loving you as a person.
But also trust, right? So if you grow up in a household where there's no trust established, you know, being in an abusive home because of the drugs, it necessarily wasn't always physical, even though sometimes it would lead to that. It was always this feeling of like walking on eggshells. Like there was a space where I just didn't feel protected. The only time that I really found resolve for myself or a safe space was within my own self. And I think that changed, or I should say transformed into a very protective person where I didn't trust anybody. I didn't want to let anybody in. I just wasn't there, and in turn suffered a lot because I was in abusive relationships when I got older. Just got out of an abusive relationship, and also am very abusive and didn't realize what those abusive behaviors were like. My abuse may not be physical, but my abuse in emotional manipulation, my abuse in verbal, because words matter, right?
Yeah.
So the ways that in which I was treating my partnership, and even infidelity, it was like these are things that I had seen over the course of my life and adopted because this is what I thought was the norm for me. Now looking at it and really doing the work and digging deep into, okay, these are reasons why I don't trust, because if you don't trust your own mother, it's kind of hard to trust society. But then also I grew up, I'm an 80s baby, so I also grew up when the HIV/AIDS pandemic and the crack pandemic were huge. So for me, it was also like I'm watching other Black folks discriminate against other Black folks because of their sexual orientation. I'm also seeing the government pollute our communities with drugs and just to turn a blind eye and just leave. And because of that, this is where the broken homes come from. This is where the abuse comes from. This is where the non-self-love comes from. And for me, it's like, okay, I can't trust my household, but I also can't trust society. And then on top of it, identifying as queer, I really can't trust society. And being Black, I can't trust society. It is all of these things compiled into one. So how can I love myself when the society in my household doesn't love me?
$1,000 shoes just to walk on. Green, get them open, make them start some. Thinking he gon' get it, it's a gnaw for him. Only hard I'm showing niggas is the garçon. Pipe right, have a nigga stuttering like foghorn. Only want the head if you gawking. I like when it's mad wet, both hands on it, and you slurp it up, spit it back, French kiss the gooch, fingers in my butt. First class, touching down in Dallas every weekend, buying bags cause the money coming frequent. Presidential suites, but I don't ever sleep in. I know he got a man, but it's mine when we freaking. I do what I want, cause I am the man. Slap my number to your nigga, he is such a fucking fan. Solid gold around my neck, and it weighs a couple grams. I'm back on my bullshit, I hope you understand. Capiche? This my new mood for the summer. My new drop, doing new numbers. I know they see me getting it, I know they wonder the way a nigga moving. I'm gonna come up. This my new mood for the summer. My new drop, doing new numbers. I know they see me getting it, I know they wonder the way a nigga moving. I'm gonna come up. This This my new mood for the summer. 2 sticks with me banging like a drummer. If you mad, take a number. I know some niggas wishing I go under, but I am from the city of no slumber. All I do is hustle, eat, shop, and repeat. These niggas got drive, but can't do my speed. When green's on gold, these boys be on E. I'm a classic, smiling at ya, Mona Lee. This my new mood for the summer. My new drop, doing new numbers. I know they see me getting it. I know they wonder the way a nigga moving. I'm on the come up. This my new mood for the summer. My new drop, doing new numbers. I know they see me getting it. I know they wonder the way a nigga moving. I'm on the come up. This my new mood for the summer. My new drop, doing new numbers. I know they see me getting it. I know they wonder the way a nigga moving. I'm on the come up. This my new mood for the summer. My new drop, doing new numbers. I know they see me getting it. I know they wonder the way a nigga moving. I'm on the come up.